From having its in-game economy being ran by criminals, a multitude of controversial creators, some of which have done illegal things, and insane amounts of developer neglect, TF2 has had tons of controversies, and this iceberg documents it all, starting at the surface with the debate around friendlies. While ignoring the objective and just messing around is something that happens in every game, it is a lot more ingrained in TF2 culture than most others. It is unknown when the term was coined, but Google Trends shows data for the word hoovy being used as far back as 2011, as well as this YouTube video from November 2012 titled Friendlies in a Nutshell. Most community discontent with friendlies is due to the fact that a lot of them rage when you kill them. While cosmetics that could potentially hinder team recognition have existed in TF2 for a very long time, the worst offenders have all come after 2021. The water waders and flavorful baggies for Pyro, the Bushman and formerly the Shady Shelby for Sniper, the Tuxedo Royale for Spy, and many more, usually being cosmetics with large paint regions. TF2 was intentionally designed with readability being of utmost importance, with saturated colors being used sparingly just to draw attention to weaponry. Despite this, a lot of individuals vehemently defend these cosmetics, usually with arguments that boil down to, just put your crosshair in the class and if their username is visible, just shoot them. But it doesn't fool me, so it must fool nobody else. On June 14th, 2024, content creator Grouch made a video about rebalancing TF2's weapons. While this is pretty bog standard among TF2 creators, he proceeded to mostly propose some of the worst changes of all time for the next 36 minutes, with the most infamous one of course being to give the Enforcer 8 seconds of bleed. The video went viral for how bad it was, but Grouch took the criticism pretty well and it has since become a meme. The Blue Scout's pants have been the wrong color ever since the game released. It was fixed for all of one day in October of 2024, but then quickly reverted due to lots of conflicts with existing cosmetics, causing pretty mild backlash. Of all updates in TF2 history, Meet Your Match not only had the worst launch, but is still widely considered to be the worst TF2 update to this day. In the first few days of the update's release, matchmaking was barely functional. The new competitive mode was a complete flop, and the beloved quick play system was axed to make way for casual matchmaking, which is Valve's way of modernizing TF2 in order to incorporate skill-based assessment into matchmaking. While casual mode is much better than it was in 2016, there are still plenty of issues with it that quick play never had. TF2's official player count as reported by Steam is unfortunately false. For a very long time, people used it as a source of copium to show that TF2 is an everlasting, timeless game that can still hold player records decades later, but as proven by suspiciously low oscillations in player count, as well as the bizarre dumps and drops of multiple thousands of players at a time, about 70% of the player count as reported by Steam is idle bots. If you want a much more accurate figure, use teamwork.tf. The Phlogistinator is likely the most hated weapon in TF2, mostly due to its crit mechanic. If you're even somewhat experienced at the game, it is very easy to counter, but situations where a Flog Pyro randomly jump scares you from a corner with it, or people abusing Ubercharge pockets with it do make it fairly annoying to play against for a lot of people. Meet Your Match was also the update of Meet vs Match, a community-driven vote to see whether Pyro or Heavy would be the focus of the next major update. Pyro won, and of course got the Jungle Inferno update. Now in the update page of Meet Your Match and Jungle Inferno, it pretty clearly stated that, quote, it's not going to be both. However, in the blog post that followed Meet Your Match, Valve did say that it was highly likely that both would be updated. This conflicting language has left a lot of people confused and understandably disappointed that the Heavy update hasn't come. Beginning around 2016, cheating bots began to appear in TF2 lobbies. This is due to the development of Cathook, a free software that anyone could download and fire up their own cheats and or cheating bots with. What resulted was nearly 8 grueling years of cheating bots making the game unplayable. A remedy was pushed out in June of 2024 that finally hampered most cheater activity. These days, nobody even talks about it anymore, going back to praising Valve for mediocre updates. Insanity. There have been, or still are, 3 primary random mechanics in TF2. Random damage spread is pretty universally agreed upon to be negative, hence its removal 10 years ago. However, random crits and random bullet spread have remained, with the player base being relatively split on their inclusion in the game. The Texan Trick Shot is part of the most recent wave of taunts added in the summer 2025 update, but unlike every other purchasable taunt, it is a taunt kill. This pretty quickly sparked a wave of people calling it pay to win, especially because its range mirrored the Heavy's POW taunt, the best taunt kill in the game. Valve proceeded to nerf the range, which then sparked another shitstorm of hate. One day later, the nerf is reverted, so Texan Trick Shot the subscribe button and let's move on to layer 2. The item servers briefly going offline in TF2 is a frequent and expected occurrence, usually happening every Tuesday since that is the designated maintenance day. However, on January 9th, 2024, at around 7 PM Eastern, the item servers went down and just never came back. At the 24-hour mark, people started to voice genuine concerns that Valve may have finally pulled the plug in TF2, but in all the chaos, people found it oddly fun, as it was just like 2007 TF2 all over again. No hats, unlockable weapons, and no gaudy unusual effects. After about 42 hours, the item servers were quietly restored. Since 2014, but very much accelerated since 2019, is a degradation of TF2's art style. TF2 is deliberately designed to reflect 60s America in a way that minimized details for the sake of readability. Of course, it is perfectly fine to deviate from it slightly, hence the early cosmetics of TF2. In 2011, Robin Walker famously said the Dangerous glasses for Devilman were the furthest TF2 should deviate from its art style, but since 2019, a lot of community contributions have just been really gaudy holiday hats, shitty Reddit memes, and random objects placed on head. This of course has been the source of lots of debate, with some people saying that they should just accept it for what it is and let TF2 evolve, while others prefer to preserve the style that made TF2 so timeless, rather than let it turn into another Fortnite clone. Omegatronic is the most famous of TF2's many bot hosters. They're all terrible people, but Omegatronic went out of his way to advertise social media links, always posting taunting messages on them. Related to Meet Your Match, but before the update released, Valve developer Jill said the update would be quote, Neato. This resulted in the update being coined as a Neato update, but of course when it actually launched, it was anything but Neato, and now Jill is generally associated with being the face of TF2's worst update. In February of 2023, Valve out of nowhere made a blog post asking workshoppers for submissions so they could make a full-on update-size update. This got the community unbelievably hyped, thinking that this may be the first time in 6 years Valve ever gives more content than just copy-pasted items, but then a few hours later, they changed the wording to only read holiday-size update, which understandably killed it for a lot of people. In late 2022, Valve added VScript functionality to TF2. While this has resulted in some cool novelty game modes like an official versus Saxon Hail mode, it pretty quickly derailed after that. Zombie Infection was released for Scream Fortress 2023, a mode that was put together in less than 3 months. It was riddled with bugs, and after a few weeks, the TF2 community stopped playing. So when VScript modes like Gun Game and Prop Hunt began to receive hype on the workshop, it sparked controversy. While the modes are tried and true concepts in gaming, they simply divert way too far from TF2's normal gameplay to have any real staying power and permanent rotation. Community servers do exist for a reason after all. Let's not Fortniteify TF2. The Emporium is a group started in the early 2010s that centers around creating workshop submissions for TF2. Over time, however, they have pretty much monopolized the space and they now weaponize their power in order to maintain their stranglehold on the game. Things they've done include, but are not limited to, copying the items of other workshoppers, and then using their influence over the scene to twist the narrative as if the inverse happened, doxing said workshoppers they copied from after they speak out about the situation, in this case, literally causing him to become homeless because he was in the middle of a move at the time, and wasn't able to close the deal on the house he bought due to his credit card being leaked. Downvote botting submissions and or people they don't like, and much more, some of which I will discuss later on. And the reason they can get away with this is because Valve likes consistency and overwhelmingly picks items from the same small number of creators. While a lot of the specifics of these Emporium controversies are usually unknown to the wider community, thanks to many posts and videos made in recent time, most of the TF2 community has a vague idea of how disgusting these people are. I will of course have links down below if you are interested in seeing some of the proof for this. New unusual effects used to be few and far between in TF2 updates, with most older updates only containing 4 to 8 effects, many of them being iconic like Sunbeams, Hellfire, and Frostbite. However, after 2018, Valve really lost the plot and started adding an insane amount of unusual effects, with the summer 2024 update having an insane 53 new unusual effects. It has reached a point where new unusual effects basically mean nothing anymore. There are just way too many of them for any of them to stand out. I myself seriously can't name an unusual effect made after 2017, yet I can name a big chunk of the ones made beforehand. TacoBot and PizzaBot are two related groups that both center around man vs. machine's toxicity issue. Talkobot is a group hellbent on clearing MVM of so-called incompetent players and cheaters. It is pretty clear that these people have a very low tolerance for mistakes because they will absolutely lose their shit for things as insignificant as using the wrong weapons or being a low torque count player on Pyro. They have a website and Discord server that contains a list of every player that has committed an offense they deem unacceptable, and will vote kick them before the last wave ends out of spite. On the opposite end of the spectrum is PizzaBot, another group of gambling addicted degenerates that believe in complete optimization of MVM, using cheats to do so. The group is created to be the antithesis of Talkobot, as they support cheaters and newer players, but don't be fooled, as if you interfere with their cheating or F4 too slowly, they will freak the fuck out. Fat Magic is a TF2 content creator most well known for his sniper gameplay, but in mid-2022, a certain individual who will be discussed later made 3 videos supposedly exposing him for cheating. To put it short, it was all false. Related to Talkobot is the Gas Passer and MVM. In the regular game, the Gas Passer is agreed upon to be in the top 5 worst weapons ever. In MVM though, the Gas Passer is one of the top 5 best, simply due to the Explode and Ignite upgrade. While most players are generally fine with this, a lot of MVM purists who believe in preserving their vision of integrity despise it, throwing tantrums and attempting to kick anyone who tries to use a Gas Passer. In mid-2019, Valve accidentally made the drop chance for unusuals from a few specific crates 100%. What followed for the next 19 hours was the near death of the TF2 economy, as the prices of most affected unusual series dropped to only a few bucks. Valve eventually stepped in and locked any further trades from happening, eventually pushing out a fix that made any player's first unbox tradable, while all subsequent unboxes were locked to their backpacks. While the economy somehow recovered fine, a big controversy came about from groups of people claiming moral high ground because they didn't abuse a glitch, saying that they should have been awarded something like a cheater's lament for being good boys. The TF2 community seems to be really insecure at the thought of any other games being popular. When Overwatch was first released, it was understandably all the rage to compare the two games. However, as Overwatch began to suffer from developer neglect, TF2 fans just kept on dragging the comparisons, while completely ignoring the fact that their game was riddled with its own issues. Eventually, it became a trend among TF2 players to just compare TF2 to every single trendy game, and it has gotten to the point where it has tarnished the reputation of the TF2 community among other fanbases. TF2 is a great game, we all know that, but please stop with these god-awful content farms. Flanderization is a term used to describe when a specific trait of a character is exaggerated so much to the point where it consumes that character. Soldier is probably the best example. While he was always portrayed as crazy, the comics really played it up to the point where he is now just comedic relief characterized by extreme mental incapacity. Heavy and Pyro have seen similar but less obvious flanderization of their own, which has caused a debate similar to that of the art style degradation. Zesty Jesus is currently one of TF2's most popular content creators, and probably its most controversial proportional to their subscriber count. He is one of the only TF2 creators whose videos lean more critical in nature, tackling issues like the Emporium, lazy workshop submissions, and team recognition. Since the TF2 community is naturally averse to negativity, it puts a target on his back, and it doesn't help that he has a shaky past. At one point, Emporium members actually emailed Eric Smith to try and get Zesty banned off of Steam, which is just insane. As for his controversies, people bring up his use of the T-slur along with previous tweets of him showing support for Matt Walsh and some of his takes on trans people, but when put into the context that those people he called slurs were the same people who DDoSed him and stream-sniped him to no end, leaves the internet relatively split on the issue. He additionally has tweeted the N-word on 2 occasions, one of which being a direct quote from the Eric Andre show, which has also led to people labeling him as a racist. When unusual weapon effects first released, there were 4 total, being Hot, Cool, Isotope, and Energy Orb. However, Energy Orb was removed just before the release of Jungle Inferno, meaning it only exists on pre-Warpaint weapons. There doesn't seem to be any official reasoning as to why it was removed, but it's most likely because the effect was really buggy and also didn't work very well with melee weapons. TFGO was a phrase used to mock the 2015 Gunmetal update. For those unaware, the Gunmetal update was the first update that brought the modern-day grading system to weapons and cosmetics in TF2. Additionally, it brought the first ever weapon skins to TF2. It was pretty obvious that Valve saw the wild success that the Arms Deal update brought to CSGO, and ported it pretty much one-to-one in TF2, hence the name TFGO. The 2014 end-of-the-line update had an insane amount of hype behind it leading up to its release. However, all we got was a crate, a really well made short film, and a duck journal. A pathetic attempt at making a CSGO operation coin work in TF2, where you collected ducks to level up a badge. Players understandably felt betrayed by the lack of content, especially because Valve refused to release a new snowplow map, fearing it would be too difficult for newer players. Valve additionally rejected all but one of the proposed weapons, using that one weapon for the preceding Love and War update instead. When TF2 went free to play in 2011, it was actually very controversial. So much to the point that people literally created plugins to bar free-to-plays from joining servers. Obviously, some people were mad that they had spent money on the game and only got an average-looking hat to show for it, but most people feared that the influx of newer players would dilute their experiences on their favorite community servers. With time though, the sentiment has pretty much died down entirely, and going free-to-play is now seen as a big positive for the game. The Something Special for Someone Special is a $100 item that allows you to broadcast a message to the entire game when you gift it to someone. This has been abused by individuals over the history of TF2 to target people they don't like, though the most controversial example in recent time is during the TF Connect 2024 charity stream. For some context, one of the stream segments involved TF2 content creators playing with Valve developers Eric Smith, Dave Riller, and Jill, the Nito guy, if you remember. And while they were playing, this ring message was broadcasted. Jill has accepted that Meet Your Matches ruined TF2. Nito, congratulations. Now the entire stream and everyone playing all had notifications off, so none of them ever saw it. A few days later, the person who actually bought the ring came out with his own video, calling out the What Show for basically fence-sitting and having no actual beliefs on the situation. He additionally called out another disgusting scandal, more on that later. The 2014 Love and War update brought two devastating nerfs for both Devilman and Heavy. Devilman's Sticky Bomb ramp-up damage was heavily nerfed, pretty much killing his entire sticky spam gameplay loop. The backlash from players was insane, and Valve walked back the change 5 days later. However, in the fiasco that was Devilman's nerf, Heavy's nerf got pretty much swept under the rug despite being devastating. His miniguns were given damage and accuracy ramp up, and only after you were shooting for a full second did it reach its maximum. And if you even stopped shooting for 1 second, it reset, meaning you would have to waste bullets if you didn't want to lose your ramp up. Because Devilman's nerf overshadowed Heavy's, it took 3 years for Valve to finally reassess, making it so the ramp up only reset once you fully spun down as opposed to stop firing. Zealot is a TF2 YouTuber primarily known for his short form content on TF2. He's one of those guys that just makes really low effort farmy style content meant for brain rotted children, and the dude is also an overt racist / eugenicist, as shown by the messages sent under his old alias of Edgy Rick. All this makes him pretty hated in the TF2 community, especially so after Tony Allen made multiple exposed videos on the matter. The 2015 Invasion update was the third ever 100% community driven update in TF2. Given that the last two were already disasters, this one needed to be done right. Unfortunately, it was so bad that it forever left a sour taste in the mouths of Valve about letting the community manage updates. The first controversy came with the payment structure, as the two update managers, Bang and Ronin, supposedly took a combined 54% share of the revenue. Now, according to Ronin, this revenue share is only for one specific asset, and after Valve stepped in to clarify revenue shares, the drama died down. However, the update was also delayed multiple times due to the community's and Valve's own error. According to Tyler McVicker, Valve has a pretty low tolerance for inconveniences like this, and they usually cut ties when things like this happen, so this fiasco is a reason that Valve keeps the community at an arm's length. In June of 2021, Valve removed the ability for players to see which upgrades teammates had by using the inspect bind. This divided the MVM community, as this feature was a source of much toxicity in the past. It was one of the tactics the aforementioned TacoBot group used, checking to see if you bought optimal upgrades. If not, they kicked you. However, the inspect feature was also a great tool for helping new players get better at MVM. In most scenarios, experienced players would inspect their low-tier teammates and would give them advice on what to buy if they purchased subpar upgrades. The decal tool, along with sprays, are the main forms of user-generated content in TF2. For years, they have existed without issue, and if issues ever did arise with disgusting people abusing them, Valve always took action. But in 2021, a Twitter user posted about how TF2 cheater bots were using sprays in order to get illegal material onto your PC. If you didn't know, before 2022, any image sprayed by another player would be stored in your PC's TF2 temp folder. However, what the Twitter user conveniently left out is that since 2015, sprays have been disabled on official Valve servers, which meant that getting illegal images imported on your PC could only happen on community servers, where cheater bots never played. Despite that, insane amounts of community pressure from this tweet made Valve force the setting Disable Sprays to be turned on by default, pretty much killing one of TF2's last remaining vectors of player expression. Then 18 months later, a YouTuber named Unusual Sandwich uploaded a video about how custom decals were TF2's worst mistake, harping on a lot of the same points the aforementioned Twitter user did. The video received immense backlash, fortunately leading to a better ending where Valve instead added the option to disable decals, rather than nuking the feature altogether. Delphi is a YouTuber primarily known for his showcases of TF2 glitches and exploits, with some of his videos garnering millions of views. This has led to many posts over the years complaining about him publicizing exploits that the wider TF2 community otherwise wouldn't know about. Others argued that the widespread publicity can at times expedite these exploits being fixed. Either way, Delphi responded by pointing out multiple examples of community hypocrisy, like the 2019 Snakewater out of bounds glitch making it to the front page of TF2 Reddit with a 100% upvote ratio. Given that Valve is usually extremely slow to fix exploits, it's hard to say Delphi is really doing anything wrong here. The 2014 Love and War update brought about TF2's first set of taunts that were more so emotes as opposed to taunts. One of these was the conga, the first ever traversal taunt ever added to TF2. Due to the novelty, pretty much every server for the entire month was full of people doing conga. This led to quite a bit of controversy about the game just turning into a conga simulator. Once the novelty wore off though, the drama subsided. Basil is another controversial character from within the MVM community. He's most well known for being really petty and willing to hold up lobbies for many reasons, with the most common one being cheater supporters. Which, keep in mind, it is a relatively 50-50 split issue. Wheezy made an hour-long saga about it, but he's essentially just really insecure and craves attention. But in recent times, he seems to be somewhat reformed, as he posts on YouTube now and some of his videos are actually good. A couple of TF2 YouTubers have been known to repeatedly promote gambling websites as sponsors, such as Sin, Delphi, and HoovyTube. On one occasion back in 2015, Sin even uploaded a video showing off Lamalbox, a once wildly popular TF2 cheat. While the video is now deleted, Sin's excuse for uploading it was pretty pathetic. In the Smithmas 2023 update, Valve added the Turbine Center map, and near the red intel room is a door with a nameplate that says Tran S Right. This is pretty controversial on release, with some people being apprehensive about its addition, worried that it might be opening a can of worms to have more real-life messaging injected into the game, while others pointed out that at the end of the day, it's just 14 characters of text within a gigantic map. The phrase popped up again in the 2025 summer update, this time on a newly released demolition map. You need to use the command rdrawClipBrushes2 to even see it, so it's a lot more hidden, seemingly causing less controversy. Similarly is the Desk Engineer controversy. Behind the ID card on the cosmetic was a trans flag and a pride flag. The controversy played out the exact same as the map ones, but Valve actually stepped in and made the creator remove the flags. It is unknown why, but it is likely related to not wanting to set a precedent of just letting creators add whatever they want to items. This made a lot of people who supported the Easter egg start molding, making them no better than the people who got mad about the door thing. Venusian Rapper is the aforementioned individual who accused Fat Magic of cheating, but his controversies run a lot deeper. I won't go through them all, but he flirted with underage women and participated in lots of stalking of women. Vorabe has an hour-long expose if you're interested. The Glacial Glaze Warpaint is literally a stock image. You can find it on Pixabay. The only changes made to it is that it has a default Photoshop filter and it was mirrored. A couple other TF2 Warpaints are also just trace clip art / stock images. It is truly shocking how Valve lets Warpaint creators get away with it, and pays them 5 figures while doing so. Trickle Down Balance was a video made by Uncle Dane in 2018, arguing that by balancing the game around the game's best players, naturally all other players would be satisfied with game balance. But if you know anything about trickle-down economics, the concept it was named after, it just did not work. While it's fine for games like CS where casual and competitive don't differ very much, it doesn't work in games like Fortnite and TF2, where casual and competitive are two completely different universes. The TF2 economy is almost entirely dominated by two entities, the .tf conglomerate that entails Backpack, Marketplace, and Scrap, as well as Manco.store. Manco.store has their own set of controversies independent of the .tf conglomerate, and they also hold a significantly smaller share of the economy. In 2020, Jesse Cardone, one of the owners of the .tf conglomerate, along with many of their staff members, were exposed for soliciting pictures from individuals they knew were minors. For Jesse specifically, there are multiple screenshots showing him requesting explicit material from an individual named Sandwhip, who was 16 at the time. Jesse attempted to feign ignorance about Sandwhip's age, but they literally had mod applications from him stating that he was underage. So yeah. To this day, Jesse still runs the site, and some of the staff members complicit in the scandal are still on as well. Unfortunately, given that the .tf conglomerate has a near monopoly on third-party TF2 trading, you put yourself at a major disadvantage in the trading scene by not using their services. The Informant, also known as Moira, or the Geneticist, was a TF2 content creator most well known for their supposed dox of the TF2 bot hosters in early 2024. On April 7th, 2024, Omegatronic posted a picture of his OC next to a defaced Rick May statue. Instead of ignoring the bot hosters, the TF2 community just fed him more of the attention he craved, with the Informant taking it one step further. She claimed that by using some unknown exploit in Steam, she could obtain the IP address of anyone, supposedly using it to track down Omegatronic to Norway or Russia, and tracking down Duzhotter to southern Spain. These posts received lots of fanfare, so the Informant began to solicit donations from individuals, in the same tweet pointing out that she was compiling the bot hoster's information into a document, basically implying that she would work on the document if people donated. It of course later turned out to all be a load of shit, and it backfired on the Informant as the bot hosters supposedly doxed her in return, which is why a lot of cheater bots in early 2024 had the name Delia Garcia. It also came out that she faked being scammed in the past, with the items that many people donated to her being traded into an account named Faster247, a common bot used for gambling websites. In the 2009 Engineer update, Valve made it so there was an exceedingly rare chance to get a golden wrench upon crafting, with only 100 set to be distributed in total. However, it wasn't all random, as the drop time of each wrench was set to happen at a predetermined interval, and it just so happened that an individual named Drunken Fool was able to social engineer his way into obtaining those timings, famously counting down on the public server for everyone to craft at one of these intervals, creating the 51st golden wrench, claimed by Derek. Drunken Fool and Derek were both VAC banned. Even to this day, Derek is still VAC banned. Drunken Fool, however, would later go on to work for Valve. All of this drama led to a negative stigma around the wrench, so a player named Wingspan TT figured he could turn it into a positive. Wingspan held a charity event in which any golden wrench owners willing to could volunteer to destroy theirs for the Child's Play charity. In total, 14 were destroyed, which sort of ironically added more to the hatred of the item because of the holdouts. To this day, there is still a small controversy about the item, since it is frequently bought and sold. The reason, Delphi has his own. In the 2009 Sniper vs. Spy update, Valve introduced a drop system into the game. Players initially felt it was unfair how much you had to play in order to get item drops. One way people got around this was by joining dedicated idle servers and minimizing the game. However, this is a major inconvenience, especially because most people didn't have strong PCs back in 2009. This is when the community discovered Steam Stats, a program created by the aforementioned Golden Wrench hacker, Drunken Fool. The program mimicked the game's engine and allowed you to connect to servers while your game wasn't even open, which was abused by many players to farm drops. Eventually, Valve cracked down by removing all items earned through the use of external programs, and rewarded those who didn't participate with a free new hat called the Cheater's Lament. A couple months later, Valve rolled out changes to the drop system that made it easier to earn items, while also capping the number you could get in 1 week. Monkey is a TF2 YouTuber most known for his clip dumps and commentary, but in October of 2024, he got exposed for having a pretty insane history DMs with a 16-year-old girl while he was 22. According to Monkey, their interaction started after the girl DM'd him asking him how he felt. Monkey at the time, having just lost his brother to suicide, told her that he was feeling down. The girl reciprocated care and began to open up about her own trauma, and from there, they DM'd each other for months, many times getting sexual. Now, from the messages, it was clear that this girl was mentally ill and more so doing this to manipulate him into saying crazy shit. However, This doesn't change the fact that he engaged with a minor in questionable ways for months on end. Usually, these types of things are career-ending, but Monkey's audience was weirdly in denial about the allegations, and to this day, he gets good views on his channel. Also, pretty funny how a few months before this all got exposed, he said this in a video.
For a game that's like almost 18 years old. Almost legal, by the way.
Whammo is a former TF2 YouTuber most infamously known for his TF2 drama videos and stolen video ideas. Just like a lot of other drama channels, he has done some good, like his video exposing the .tf conglomerate. However, most of his other drama videos were very poorly made, like his Zesty Jesus shit piece. Whammo has since left the TF2 community and now runs the Internet Anarchist channel, where things seem to have not changed one bit. I previously mentioned that the TF2 economy was entirely ran by two entities, one of course being the Diddies of the .tf conglomerate. The other entity is Manco.store. While they luckily aren't pedophiles, they have been known to scam in the past. This isn't related to the widely popular Manco.store bot scam either. Manco.store has nothing to do with that. This has to do with the fact that Alex, Manco.store's owner, is banned on Steam Rep, and there have been accounts from individuals not receiving their items from Manco.store because they supposedly lost them. A lot of people vouch for them these days, so it seems like they have cleaned up. The first item to go truly viral for being a tacky violation of TF2's art style was the Magical Mercenary, added in the Screen Fortress 2013 update. On the workshop submission page, it received mixed reception. Some loved it, while others pointed out that it was probably someone trying to get their My Little Pony fetish out of the TF2. These days, there are unfortunately much worse cosmetics that aren't even holiday restricted. In 2024, screenshots of an interaction between two high-tier traders surfaced, involving the purchase of a Burning Flames polar pullover. But then the trader joked about taking 50 keys off the price and including a hamster, which then segued into conversations about the buyer including his dog in the trade. Both agreed, and the hat was bought for 5,000 keys plus the dog, which they agreed to value at 450 keys. Without context, it caused outrage, but then a couple days later, the dog's owner clarified the situation. Both traders were friends in real life, and they already talked about doing this beforehand. The owner had too many externalities in his life to care for the dog's ever-worsening condition, hence why his friend offered the help. However, some people have brought up Discord DMs showing the owner being apathetic towards the situation, which has soured the situation once again for a lot of people. The Pyromania update was teased for a long time as the update that would finally flesh out Pyro, but when it arrived, players were disappointed to find out that it only came with 3 new weapons, 2 of which being reskins. There was also some dismay towards the way Pyro was portrayed in Meet the Pyro, as some felt it opened the floodgates for people to treat his character as if he was a teddy bear, as opposed to a mentally deranged killer. Muselk was one of TF2's largest creators in the first half of the 2010s, but due to a combination of factors like burnout with TF2 and Overwatch content just having a lot more potential, he slowly left the TF2 scene. While this is just the logical way forward for a YouTuber wanting to keep their job security, a lot of his fans didn't take too kindly to it. However, it's worth noting that Muselk still holds a deep appreciation for TF2, as expressed in his 2023 tweet. But even then, a lot of people say that Fortnite and Overwatch ruined Muselk and turned him into a stereotypical gaming YouTuber. Sketchik is the TF2 YouTuber most well known for his Pyro gameplay. In 2015, he would begin posting a series of videos claiming he had a severe illness and didn't have much longer to live. Later that year, posting his final video and disappearing for good. But over the years, strange occurrences like items leaving his backpack and sightings of similarly good Pyro players with his name pointed to it being a hoax. In early 2019, Sketchik confirmed it and expressed his apologies for doing so. While many were quick to welcome him back, others were a bit disgusted that he went as far as faking his death. Goop, or Gibbous Engineer Wildlife Protectors, was an informal group founded in late 2015 by Sin and Forins. The group was meant to capitalize off of the wildly popular Gibbous Engineer jokes that were common in Sin's videos back then. With the formation of the Steam group though, many players started to put the Goop tag in their name in order to proliferate its message across TF2. Forum threads began to appear. What the hell is a Goop? Goop, a shitty tag that all annoying Sin followers use. All the people, or should I say kids, who use the tag are also pretty hypocritical about their cause, saving these Gibbous Engies and instead harass them with Lenny faces and shitty unoriginal keybinds. This community hatred of the group led to it being hacked by a moderator gone rogue, who had some choice words for Sin. Due to over 4,000 members being kicked from the group, it declined in popularity and is almost non-existent in game today. Own is frequently brought up in discussions about Goop. The group was created by Lone Wolf HBS in 2013, simply to update his fans on his niche but still popular Cult of Personality SFM series. Sort of like Goop though, people put the Own tag in their names and started to be toxic in-game, which got lots of hate directed at Lone Wolf, leading him to take the group down. Because of these negative interactions, it is remembered these days for being a group that harbored insufferable young edgelords. A canon experience for every TF2 free-to-play is deleting your achievement items and or mercenary badge in order to make backpack space. I still hate myself to this day for doing it. Now if you try contacting Steam support, they respectfully tell you to fuck off. But why? Well, Steam support used to be more than happy to restore your deleted items, but due to bad actors exploiting this to create duplicate items they were scammed for, Valve has now pulled the plug on support grants entirely. At the end of iDubbbz's Keemstar Content Cop was a parody of All Stars sung by Uncle Dane. At one point, the hard R is used. Uncle Dane wasn't credited in the song's description, so not too many people knew that it was him that sang and wrote the song. Though in recent times, some people have pointed out the community double standard when Uncle Dane uses the hard R, versus someone like Zesty directly quoting the soft A. Despite many people in the community vehemently denying it is, the Frozen Aurora Warpaint is literally a Vor pride flag. Both of the creators are very open about their Vor fetishes, with Illusionaire literally having a sticky bomb launcher named A Vulgar Display of Vor. And if you don't know what Vor is, just Google it on Urban Dictionary. I'm not explaining that here. Flares That Care was a charity livestream that hosted events in late 2014 and early 2015. The event had two ways to donate, being cash to a PayPal account or giving TF2 items to the FTC bot, but the owner and PR manager of FTC, Snoven and Plotchy, were both exposed for a past scamming. Snoven had been previously banned on TF2 Outposts for being an alt account of another individual banned for scamming. Snoven himself admitted to this prior to creating the charity, stating, "In total, I gained somewhere near the 40 bud range of total input from people, specifically from the VSH server. It pleases me greatly that simply by asking for shit from all of you and pretending to care, I could get all of that." Plotchy, on the other hand, was Valve trade banned and had multiple Steam reps scamming reports. The discovery of this caused the second event to be cancelled. Luckily, all the PayPal cash donations went straight to the Child's Play charity. The TF2 items were a different story though, leading to a donator named Wretched that contacts Snoven, the sole owner of the item bot, for his items back. So basically, you're going to sell everything people donated to you, if they ask for it back. If that's the case, can I just have my keys back? I'll trade it back. How many keys did you donate? 7. One moment. Already sold. Want something else as replacement? I have it up on the market. I'm leaving and just gonna buy games with it. Take them off the market? Nah, sorry man. Buy me CSGO, that's definitely worth 7 keys. Yeah, sure. Snoven is now offline. Essentially, in the wake of his scam being exposed, Snoven cashed out the items that were supposed to go to charity. Mekarek was a relatively small TF2 YouTuber, being most active around 2018 and 2019. To cut to the chase, multiple underage boys came out with proof of Mekarek saying disturbing things to them. And I know this is really serious stuff, but this line was just insane. The drama category of the 2015 Saxy Awards is won by a Dota SFM. While the Saxy Awards were open to SFM submissions from any Valve game, they were overwhelmingly dominated by TF2, so it was mostly known as a TF2 only competition. This caused quite a controversy, with a lot of TF2 fans echoing the sentiment that they didn't want to see anything Dota related in the Saxys. Back in the earlier days of TF2 when new cosmetics were frequently being put into the crafting pool, there was lots of competition to obtain low craft numbers. This is because the first 100 of any cosmetic to be crafted would have their number displayed on the item itself, giving it extra value. However, bad actors use bots to abuse this. Most notably, former .tf conglomerate owner Geel uses open source bot to obtain a number 1 Tuxie, subsequently bragging about it on Reddit. He got a lot of shit for doing this and later gave it away as an apology. However, botting craft numbers never stopped, and some traders botted as much as 7 number 1 cosmetics at a time whenever Valve added new ones to the crafting system. While craft numbers are a cool concept, the rampant botting of them makes them very unfair for an average trader. And now to the final entry, which I actually think deserves a whole video on its own. This is also why one of the entries on layer 3 is blurred out. That will get its own video too. Feel free to speculate on what they are in the comments. In the meantime, subscribe and check out some of my other videos.